Hi there, I'm Linda Bennett, your spiritual counselor on Psychic Host for Metaphysically Speaking. We are talking tonight about open metaphysical questions. That means anything you want to ask. But if you want to ask a personal question, like should you change jobs or should you stay married or should you get married, you ask your metaphysical question first, then you can ask your personal question. I also do private consultations via Zoom, and my number, which don't you think I would know it by now? My number is 727-804-4536. Yes, 727-804-4536 if you want an appointment. But you have to leave your name and your number. Don't just call and hang up. This number to call to talk to us now is 844-390-8255. That's 844-390-8255. And we are coming to you every other Tuesday and every fourth Tuesday. No, every second Tuesday and every fourth Tuesday. Every second Tuesday, every fourth Tuesday at 6 p.m. Now, tonight is open metaphysical questions. So anything you want to ask, go right ahead. We have some questions already that we'll talk about first, but the next two programs are going to be even more fascinating because they're going to be about what is evil and what is good, and what is little good and what is big good, what is little evil and what is big evil. So you're thinking, what? I never heard that before. That's because you haven't met me. So therefore, I will be explaining these things. And a really good show to watch was on, I don't remember which network program it was on. It was called Lucifer. And I'll explain who Lucifer is and what the deal is. But it's now, I think it's on Netflix. Is it on Netflix? We don't know. Okay. I think it's Netflix. And, or you can try Prime, or you can try Paramount.
Let them find it.
Yeah, let them find it. I don't know much about TVs or about electronic stuff. My producer sets everything up for me because I don't know how to do it. And I also don't have a computer, so I have to use hers. Lucifer is an angel. We've done shows before where I've explained to you that there's no such thing as a fallen angel. That's the Jewish Christian concept of trying to explain to stupid people, because 99% of the people at the time did not have an education and did not have expansive minds. On the average, there are always people in every country and every culture and every part of the world in every few years who have exceptional minds and ask questions. So they said that Lucifer, for instance, was a fallen angel, and that angels had fights with God and they got thrown out of heaven. Well, any more than you can start flapping your arms and take off and land up in a tree, that can't happen. Why can't you do that? Because it's not in your DNA. It's not how you were developed. It's not how you were designed. Birds can do it. Tigers can't do it. Elephants can't do it. Pussycats can't do it. Gorillas can't do it. Neither can you. Lucifer is, say what now? We're getting an interruption? Okay. So therefore, angels, archangels, and archai, which I will explain, cannot fall. They don't have fights with God. That's a human concept, just like religions are human ideas developed by men. Because remember, women didn't even have the right to vote in this country until what, 1918, 1920? That's a sin. And our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, nothing says about women. It just says men. So since the Jewish religion and the people around that area, the Middle East, used women as bartering chips, used women as slaves, used women to marry off to get something from somebody else, they weren't considered human, basically. They were just baby machines. And why women tolerated this is beyond me. But nevertheless, that's the way it was. And until women start taking their place, nothing's going to change. A few protests here and there aren't going to do a bloody thing. So Lucifer is not a fallen angel. He was appointed by God to be the overseer and like the school superintendent of Earth school. And Earth is only a mid-range planet. It used to be a high-level planet. But humans, in their selfishness and in their deciding that women were only baby machines and can be used to barter away, that was evil. Women allowing it to happen, that was evil. That's why they also didn't want women to be educated. In Rome, the prostitutes could be educated because they had to be able to talk to the men that they were servicing. Wives couldn't be educated unless they came from very wealthy families, and the family said, you're going to be educated. So they did not understand the concept of free will. They didn't understand the concept of God testing people to see if they were interested in getting back to the God force, or were they just interested in lifetime after lifetime? So Lucifer is the principal or the superintendent of Earth. The Archangel Michael in the show plays his brother. So theoretically, it's good versus evil, but it's not. Lucifer tests us here on Earth to see if we're going to stand up as beings of light, or are we going to be stupid little humans, stupid little non-humans? Cats, birds, dogs, wolves, elephants are far smarter than we are. They don't fear death. They see the astral world. If you have a pet at home, does it ever follow around like this, looking at night, usually at night, and, oh, and then watch something go like this? They're seeing your former pets or whatever creatures happen to be in your area floating on by. They see them.
Angels.
And that's right. They see angels as well. And they see little fairies. Well, I'm going to have a strict conversation with, because I have several things missing. I watch them fall and they disappear mid-fall. They never hit the ground. That new set of tweezers I got, gone skis. So, and usually they'll pop up, a month later somewhere else. But understand that there is no such thing as a fallen angel. Angels are created as light beings. The angels that are here on Earth and our guardian angels are here to guide us and to support us, not to take our free will away. That's our responsibility. But did you ever make a decision and feel, this feels right? That's your angel, your guardian angel smiling at you saying, yes, dummy, you finally figured it out. So the show Lucifer, I highly recommend. Start from the first season because it's not going to make much sense to you if you don't. And he is asking lots of questions. And one of the biggest sadnesses on the planet right now is that so many people have tried so long and so hard, generation after generation, to create goodness on the planet. And it seems that evil is winning. Why? Because we see Donald Trump and the monstrosities that are supporting him financially, chugging along, giving misinformation. Every person who has died based upon listening to Trump's lies, that's on Trump. He is going to go to a level of hell that he can't even imagine. And there's no burning flames. There's worse. There's people just like him and worse. And all he's going to hear are lies. And He's going to have to face every one of those people that he misled and who died from COVID or who had family members who died from COVID. And everyone surrounding him who has been supporting him. Same thing, just as guilty. Whether it's the Koch brothers and whoever else, Meadows, what's the one that's back in jail again? I can't remember all these people. Too many to count. And oh, by the way, the people who invaded the Capitol, the treasonous sedition. Yeah. And I want to know why they're not in jail forever. Why they just don't throw them in there, put them in a hole and forget them. They committed treason. They were overthrowing the government of the United States. And regardless of what you think of Pence, and I don't think very much of him, he did what he was supposed to do as vice president, and he certified the election, which was counted 3 times. And despite Trump's call, which we all have heard on the news, because the man was smart in Georgia and recorded it, he said, find me 11,400 votes or whatever the number was. Can't you make it happen? That's evil. So we will be discussing that. Okay, our show tonight is the 11th. We have the 25th. And then part 2 of it will be February 8th. And because it's just too much material to cover in one program. Please watch the show Lucifer, find it somewhere, and start from the very beginning and work on up to, I don't know whatever season this is, maybe the 3rd or 4th season. And you will begin to question, hey, he's not such a bad guy. He never was. He wasn't put here as the principal, as the superintendent, to make everybody miserable. He was made here so that he would overcome the tests. He says, yes, outsmarted me. Yes, did good. So catch that program and you'll get more out of the show that we are going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. Okay, we have open metaphysical questions that my producer has. Remember, the number here to call is 844-390-8255. If you want to talk to me and ask your personal question, but ask your metaphysical question first.
Okay, we have one caller who's asked, when you cross over and you're reunited with loved ones and not so loved ones, how do the challenging relationships resolve? Do you continue working through past karma in the afterworld or the astral world?
Yes, you do continue to work through past karma, and you can't love everybody, even though Jesus said, love everyone the way you love me. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously, and we don't even know exactly what anybody said in the Bible because it was edited. It was edited again and again and again and again and again in the St. James Version, edited to its intwinth. And we have no clue, but we know basically because we know a lot of Jesus's movements from the time, see, he was 12 until he was, 30 when he showed up again. So, and I hope you watch the Christmas show because as I explained, in Judaism, rabbis, whether they're male or female, and Orthodox don't have female rabbis now, but they did at the time of Jesus's birth. And his mother was a rabbi, and his wife, Mary of Magdala, was a rabbi. They were trained at the Temple of Jerusalem, which had 3 spires. One is the male training, one is the female training, one is general people coming in and studying and dealing with the Sabbath, etc. So at that time, they had female rabbis. Again, the hatred of women and the jealousy of women ended that. But today, we have, even in Europe, we have female rabbis. And it's required that they be married. In Jesus's time, it was anywhere between 27 and 33. And that is because people usually did not live as long. And also, it provided a family, a continuation of the lineage of the house of David. Remember, David was no angel, so I don't know what they're talking about with him. And neither was Solomon. So you continue as if, boom, suddenly you're in the astral world. You were just here in your living room, and now you're here in the astral world without your physical body, but your same mentality and your same emotional and spiritual concepts that you had on the physical world. I've had 12 near-death experiences. And I will tell you, I was aware of traveling through the astral world until I got in the tunnel, and then till I got to the other side. I was very aware of it. And my experiences were incredible. You cannot describe the level of love in the astral world. It's simply incomprehensible. There's no language that we have here on the planet that can completely describe it. To say it was great, well, that's nice, but it doesn't even compare. So you will meet people you have been with who have loved you, you've loved them, even from other lifetimes, but you recognize each other. Your souls always recognize you. And you recognize their souls. For people who were mean to you, and there are several people on that side who are mean to me and done me wrong, I have forgiven them. There's no point in hanging on to anger when the only one that feels it is you. They don't feel it. Most of the time, they don't even know it. It's just like people who were bullied in school like I was for a variety of things, including being smart. I was one of the genius kids. I had a funny last name. My skin was broken out, so, oh, she's got a pimple. Try living with that one. So, and other mean things. One time somebody pulled a chair out, but somebody warned me, so I was like this, and I finally grabbed the desk and I didn't fall down and break my neck. And I turned around and I said to him, don't try that again. That and another time were the only two times I ever stood my ground. And he looked at me and he said, okay. And that was the last time. But I certainly was not the only one. I was not pushed down in the mud or anything like that. I was just ignored, or they would run by and make fun of me. So I consider myself lucky in a way. But do I even remember their names? No. They probably don't remember me. And I forgave them years ago. But the real test is, how do you behave when you get to the astral world? Do you carry a grudge with you? Or do you say, look how short that lifetime was? We always think, okay, remember when you wanted to be 18, and then you wanted to be 21, and you wanted to be married? How fast that went. And then you didn't want to turn 30. But then when you were turning 40, 30 looked great. 50 didn't look so bad because 60 was going to be the next one, and 80 and 90 and 100. And blessings send out to Betty White, who died a few days before her birthday, her 100th birthday. She was kind and sweet and loved animals, had her own charity, which is continuing, and has continued to raise a lot of money for animals. I mean, there's a person who was kind and loving and a really good soul who helped others as she went along. What a beam of light. So you do continue. But here's the deal. If you have forgiven that person, in the physical world and continue that forgiveness into the astral world, your end of the karma is over. If they're still holding a grudge against you, that's on them. You're out of it. In the next lifetimes that you're together, you may observe it. And hopefully you'll say, I'm not getting embroiled in this nonsense. Do not think that I'm getting hung up in this. I forgave this guy some time ago, or I don't even remember what the deal was. I think we knew each other, but it's past. So it depends upon both parties. If both parties continue to hold a grudge, that's going to get carried over. Until you can feel love, until you can feel kindness, until you can feel empathy towards that other person, you haven't forgiven that individual. And it's still a ball of garbage in your heart. So until you clean that out, it's not over. But you will be tested again in the astral world. You will meet that person, and your very first response, unless you're trying to remember who the person is, but your very first response, whether it's kindness or whether it's meanness, that is what you have to deal with, because that's the imprint you left in your heart and your soul. So yes, you do continue, but hold no grudges. What's the point? Your emotional level every day can only tolerate so much. Why would you fill your cup with anger and hatred when there's so little room in your cup? Fill it with kindness, fill it with graciousness, fill it with love, fill it with goodwill. Listen to the soundscapes on the music, on your TV. That's meditation that if you have difficulty focusing on, you can listen to that low, quietly while you're trying to meditate. Did that answer the question, Ms. Producer? Okay, and we had another one?
Yes. If you're not sure about an afterlife existing, how can you ask God and the angel guides to show you in a way you'll know and understand? How can we?
Oh, so you want
experiencing
proof that the astral world exists?
Yeah.
Because you think we just came out of nowhere. Where do you think we were before we were born?
Cabbage Patch.
Yeah, Cabbage Patch. Remember the Cabbage Patch Kids? Remember the big Hosro, the Cabbage Patch Kids? And what was that other small little animal thing? The
Beanie Baby.
Beanie Babies. Somebody gave me a Beanie Baby and presented it to me like, like I was getting 2 hands full of diamonds. I said, oh, cute. Don't buy any more. They're way overpriced. Everybody thinks it's going to be a big deal. Well, what happened? Hello, what happened? What was that? Disappeared? Yeah, disappeared. Cabbage Patch dolls, Beanie Babies, anything trendy like that. I think the only thing that's kept its value, if you have the original box, is what, the Madame Alexander dolls. But I'm not in the doll world. Apparently there's a doll world. A friend of ours was part of that. And there's a doll convention, at least one a year. I don't get it. I didn't like dolls as a kid. And they have held their value. I don't know why. I got no clue. I can't tell you. Can't help you. What was the question again?
Well, let me just talk to you about dolls.
Oh, proving.
But let me just talk to you about dolls. You said when I went to the doll convention,
I remember
that the women there and the people there were trying to create beauty. And
right.
That was their gardening or their.
It was their way of expressing
beauty.
Love. That's the healthy ones. The unhealthy ones.
Well, that's another story.
The unhealthy ones.
That's funky.
Are trying to replace children with dolls. But the other ones that truly see beauty in the dressmaking capabilities and the artwork designed to make the eyes and the mouths, those are very hard things to do on a doll or on anything. If you talk to any artist, a lot of them have the face hazy or the eyes hazy or gazing in another direction, because it is extremely difficult to do eyes and mouths well. So they are admiring the workmanship. But that's not all of them.
Back to the proof of God existing, please. In
So-
the astral life.
So the proof of God, who the hell are you to ask God to prove itself? Really, who are you? And here's a suggestion. Go out and sit under a tree. Put your back to the, first of all, look at the tree and ask the tree if you can share its energy. Sometimes you personally will feel nothing. 10 other people could feel something, 10 other people could feel nothing, and one person would. Ask the tree if you can join it. Don't hug it. You could have an ant crawling in your mouth. So therefore, you want to hug it, hug the tree, but put your back against the tree and sit quietly. If you can do cross legs, great. If not, whatever is comfortable with your legs. And sit quietly and feel the vibration of the tree. See if you can feel the chlorophyll, the sugars going up and down the tree trunk. See if you can feel the roots nourishing the tree. You think I'm crazy, but I'm not. I've done it. I felt it. The first one was with a pine tree in the backyard when I was a kid. The second was a weeping willow that saved my life because I climbed up it. My mother with a stick was looking for me to beat me again. And she never thought of looking up. I said, God, please don't let her look up. She said, I know you're here. I can't find you. I was doing everything not to laugh. But the weeping willow hid me. Of course, it was in the summer because it's got no leaves in the winter. So that was the second tree whose energy I felt. And then I used to go down to the lake down the end of the block and pick out a tree. And I would sit, my favorite spot had beautiful grassy moss. And I wouldn't sit on the moss because I didn't want to crush it, but I sat next to it and leaned against the tree. And I felt so surrounded by love, so surrounded by safety and greenery and kindness and wisdom. And I had heard at night, you'll be fine, you will survive, you will not be killed, because my mother was truly crazy and an alcoholic. And I always knew I was part of something bigger. I always knew that just like from here to there was another world. I always knew that I was part of that world. So I guess I was luckier than many. I never asked God to prove him herself. Because I felt like I was part of it. And so will you. If you get your faces out of the football games and the basketball games and every other stupid game on the air, what a waste of life. You could be watching PBS, the latest Nova. Do you know what horseshoe crabs are related to? You'll know if you saw the show the other night. Horseshoe crabs, so those round things with the tail. You think crabs, because it's got like a nice crustacean top. No. Spiders and scorpions, they have 8 legs. I don't like spiders. I know they do good stuff. I don't like them. I was never, thank God, stung by a horseshoe crab, because that's a real sting. Carry white vinegar in the gallon with you when you go to the beach. And the shuffle, what do they call it? The horseshoe shuffle. I just wouldn't go in the water that day.
That's for stingrays too.
Yeah, it's for stingrays too. And like poor Steve Irwin just couldn't stand the pain, and he yanked the tail of the stingray that got him right in the chest. He yanked it out, and it's got a barb, like a fishing hook. And the barb rips you on the way out. So that made a gaping hole, loss of blood. The shock went into his heart. It got him directly. I mean, this was karma. And, but he was happy doing what he was doing. And it did cost him his life. If that hadn't cost him his life, something else would have. And that was a heck of a way to die, but you don't want a stinger. So just be careful. If you're going to dive, if you're going to swim in the ocean, have somebody watching you. Never go by yourself. Never go after the sun begins to set, like I did years ago to get away from my cousins, and I got bumped and rubbed by a shark. But that was a message for the future, and I value that. So look at the things right, like people would think, oh my gosh, she got bumped by a shark. It didn't eat her, it didn't kill her, it didn't bite her. Oh, and then it rubbed against her again. Oh no, it's usually the other way, then it bites you. Look at that and say, why did that happen? What message am I getting that I'm not picking up, that I'm not paying attention to? What could it possibly be? Even if it doesn't make sense to you at that moment, look it up in the encyclopedia, or which shows you my age because I used to read encyclopedias. I would sit on the floor with my rollers and my big hair dryer over my head, sit on the floor and read the encyclopedia and read the dictionary. So I guess you can Google it. And not every dream book is accurate, believe me. I had someone from a very reputable organization write a book on dreams. And I read it to her. I read it because she gave me my own autographed copy. And I said, where did you get these ideas from? Oh, I've done lots of regressions. I said, so have I. And I don't use hypnotism. She used hypnotism. I don't use hypnotism. And I don't do them anymore, so don't call me for a regression. Because it's exhausting. I could charge $1,000 and it still would be too exhausting. Because if you ever get a regression, never let yourself be hypnotized, ever. And make sure it's recorded. And the person who's doing it for you is psychic. Because I had to see not only what you were seeing, but I had to see a few beats ahead of time, because if you were going to have a death experience, I had to intuit whether or not they should let you go through it and come out the other side where you turned around and saw why whatever happened, or if I had to take you around, or if I had to pull you off to the side and you could observe it. You don't get that with a psychiatrist. There was a time in the 90s where psychiatrists were busy taking over for so-called psychics, and they were doing it, and it screwed so many people up because they weren't psychic and they wanted to deny any psychic ability they had, and people were left hanging, not understanding what happened, having died, and they have to wake somebody up. So I don't care.
Die? Did they really die?
People died. They lost consciousness and died, and they had to be revived. And some people didn't get revived. The families got settlements. So you do feel what you felt in the lifetime you're in when you go back and past in your lifetime. So I don't do them anymore. It's exhausting. And I also used to make notes. And I also used to know how to, if you were trying to avoid something, I'd let you put it aside for a moment, and we'd go back to it. It's a ton of work. And I said to this woman, I think you should go back. I was being extraordinarily diplomatic and saying, instead of saying this is junk, I said, I think you may want to go back and review your notes and perhaps get some further, deeper understanding of what the dream was. There's a show, I think it's called Vienna Blood on PBS. It's back for the second season or the third season. And it takes place in 1906. Freud had come out and said, you know, whatever he said, most of it was wrong. And this psychiatrist is saying that your dreams are your darkest place and your darkest fears come out in your dreams. Well, they're not your darkest fears. It's a review time. You may uncover things that are fearful. Maybe it's something from a past life, which of course Freud didn't believe in, or it may be something that happened to you earlier in childhood and you don't remember it. Or maybe you're afraid of water and it's simply a reminder of what could happen if you have a mistake. Remember, most people didn't know how to swim. Swimming is kind of new for the United States. In tropical countries, it's almost like the children are born in the ocean and they pop in and they swim and they pop back out again. Not in this country. And don't forget, people didn't always take baths. And if they did, it was once a week. And if you had kids, the kids were all in the bath at the same time with their dirty little bodies, or one at a time in the same filthy bath water over and over. Oh, gosh. We think of how we progressed, and only in the last 100 years. We're so proud of ourselves as being advanced. I don't know why. Just because we can send rockets out. If North Korea sends more rockets, I'm really concerned about what's going to happen. This country is about this far from war with Russia. We're at war with Russia. Nobody wants to admit it. Cold War. They've already proven that Hillary Clinton won the election from Trump. Well, they've already proven and located the locations where the Russians changed the voting ballots. So Russia ran our last election that got Trump in. Yeah, so Trump wants to talk about phony elections. That's how he got in. There are many things that can be learned from dreams, but they're not all dark. They're not all fearful. If you can keep a dream journal, that would be great. I only dream of people if I know them for a reason. I'm getting information for them, or I'm getting information for me and how to help them. But I don't dream of people I know randomly. I dream of people I don't know, but I'm mostly in circumstances. Now, the phone is not ringing off the hook. I'm sure you're fascinated with everything I'm saying.
Question for you.
Okay, we have to let me get the phone number. 844-390-8255. And if you say I don't have a personal question, I just have a metaphysical question, fine. You don't need to ask a personal question. What's the next one?
Linda, it sounds like a lot of doom and gloom. What can we do that is hopeful?
I bet I know who sent that. Keep visualizing the planet in light. It is doom and gloom, people. We are in a very treacherous situation. I mean, treacherous situation with men who are the people who have been inciting war and
Linda.
Conquering each other for years. Men. Now, I'm not a man hater, but men like to conquer and they like to own. What do you think Putin is doing? He's trying to gather back the old days. Somebody said he reminds him of Stalin and Catherine the Great. You don't gather up other countries because your country doesn't produce a lot. It's freezing. It's always cold. They have a short summer season. They don't have the climate, and they also have a very low birth rate. They're paying women to be pregnant. So yes, we are in a dangerous situation. We can't go la, 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 make it better. But you can visualize yourself in light. You can visualize your family and loved ones in light, just like a cocoon. See them in a beautiful oval light. You can do it at night when you're meditating, because I'm assuming everybody's meditating by now. You can start with prayers and then go into meditation. And surround your house on the inside, surround your house on the outside. I mean, these are things you're familiar with. Surround your property, surround your neighborhood, surround your town, surround your county. See the light spilling out everywhere, and see the entire planet as if you were on the moon, surrounded and glowing with God's light. We should be doing that every day anyway. Everyone, think of this. Everyone on the planet, if they did this at the same time every day, regardless of where you live and what your time zone is, if you have to get up for 20 minutes and visualize everyone together, the world would be transformed. Goodness is so overwhelming when it's done properly. Not for selfishness. Gee, I want to get this job, I want to get this job, I want to get this job. Maybe the job is bad for you and you don't know. I want to get the best job. But that's just you, little tiny you. So surround you, but surround the entire planet with light. And don't say, oh, it's full of doom and gloom, because you cannot deny what is happening. It's like being eaten by an alligator and saying, well, yes, it's all an illusion, people, because your soul continues. But you're really getting eaten by that alligator. And to deny it is really bloody stupid. You have to admit what is going on in the physical world. How can you combat it? So be careful what you pray for. And don't say, oh, it's all doom and gloom. I'm all doom and gloom. I'm not doom and gloom. I'm just the news reporter. I can just explain to you what is happening. So many good people are losing hope. And here's a question. I've asked this of several people and nobody has gotten it. I'm going to ask all of you. Who is the one person on the planet who is a radiant beam of light and people all over the world respect? I will give a half an hour consultation for free if you come up with the right answer today. Think of the one person, and it really is only one, that everybody knows about, everybody's heard about, who just, you radiate respect for this person. Remind me to tell everybody, what time is it? Remind me to tell everybody before we leave the show. Because I don't want them to think, unless we get somebody calling in and they know. I'm not going to tell you who to think of and who not to think of. It's just up to you to figure this out, to think about it, and to call us up, and you will have 1/2 hour consultation with me.
So we're getting a comment from Facebook. Linda, what about all the good people like the lady in the street who bakes cookies, the crossing guard, the volunteers? Those people also radiate light, right?
Yes, they do. We hope. They radiate light by their actions, by their thoughts of saying baking cookies for an exhausted teacher. Well, probably that's the last thing they need, but doing a nice gesture. Bake cookies for the entire classroom and the teacher. Give it to the teacher a little special wrapping.
It's a metaphorical thing.
I get it. But the teacher's thoughts and actions are radiating light themselves, because your thoughts start before your actions. That in itself is radiating light, but consciously thinking of others beyond your immediate little group of people, on the crossing guard people. I had a wonderful bus driver when I was a little girl. We called him Frank. I can still tell you what he looks like. I could draw a picture of him, Uncle Frank. He was a sweetheart. Everybody loved Uncle Frank. And when he retired, we were all crying because we lost Uncle Frank. He was a radiant beam of light. By his actions and his kindness and the way he spoke to the children, there was no misbehavior. I mean, there was no misbehavior the way there is today. But there was no kids throwing spitballs at each other. Everybody was genuinely happy to be on the bus with Uncle Frank because we could leave our home problems behind and we were safe with Uncle Frank. Never an accident, never an almost, all kinds of weather. I remember I had my cat, Lolly. And Lolly came to see me. He used to come to see me sometimes. I'd keep him across the street so he wouldn't cross the road. And we had no traffic on our street. But I just wanted him to, but he just marched over one day. He wanted kisses. And I picked him up and I was kissing. All of a sudden, I heard a dog bark. I think I've told you the story once before. Heard a dog barking, like, rah, 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 rah. It scared me, scared the cat. I put the cat higher. The dog was getting closer and closer. I don't know whose dog it was. But finally, I'm a little person. I'm in first grade. So I put Lolly on top of my head because it was the highest place I could think of. And in trying to readjust himself, he cut my forehead with his nail. And then finally some woman came and she said, "What's the cat doing on your head?" I said, "If that's your dog, get rid of that dog." And she said, "Okay, I'll just pull him back." I said, "Get him out of here. I have to let my cat go home." So the bus pulls up. Uncle Frank opens the door, sees the blood running down my face. So he said, "Is that your cat?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, take him off your head." And I took Lolly and I gave him kisses. And he was all upset and frightened. I said, "Go home, go home." So we went home, ran home. And I didn't have a tissue. I didn't have a hanky or anything. Uncle Frank took out his hanky and was rubbing my face and had me sit right there next to him so he could continue monitoring, and then took me to the nurse. That's a radiant beam of light. He didn't need to do that. He could have said, "Here's a hanky. Get yourself to the nurse. You're a big girl." I'm in first grade. But he didn't. But actually moving forward with that, and these people probably did say their prayers. And if they were introduced to meditation, they did do meditation. And I'm sure they asked for world peace, but it's more because we're stronger than just asking for world peace. We are capable of visualizing world peace. Don't just go country by country. You'll be exhausted, fall asleep, and fall on your face. See the entire world. See your community, see your state, see your region. If you live in the Midwest, if you live in California, on the West Coast, East Coast, doesn't matter, Hawaii, Alaska. But visualize then you further away from the planet in the astral world or on the moon, and see the entire planet glowing, glimmering, glittering. You know, the hologram ribbon and that kind of thing, glimmering in brilliant, shimmering white light. From the very core of the earth, where the molten lava is, right on out beyond the earth, is a giant halo. That is a conscious prayer. That's more than you doing good things. It's you actively taking responsibility to use your spiritual energy to create good on the planet. Because you can. Why? Because you're sparks of God. We are all God essence. I've used the analogy of a giant wad of chewing gum, and we're still attached. We're still small little wads of chewing gum, but still attached to the God force, to the giant wad of chewing gum. And we can choose to go back up or ask more stupid questions and get further away and have to have more lifetimes to answer the questions. If you ask a question, you have to get the answer. And sometimes it requires a physical lifetime, and sometimes it's just observance in the astral world. You are part of something bigger. If you like the ocean, go to the ocean. I used to like the ocean, to go with the ocean with my father on cloudy, cool days with the fog rolling in and the sea oats. I love that. And he loved it too. I picked up one time when we were there that he had been in the Sahara, and he had been. Because after he had part of his head shot off in V-Day,
4 minutes.
They sent him to Africa, and they were fighting Rommel. And I picked up the sand, and I picked up just sand everywhere, and I experienced it years later in a dirt storm. And the ocean to him was so healing. It gave him such comfort that if you get comfort from the ocean, go to the ocean, or go to a lake, or go at the foothills of a mountain. Whatever gives you comfort, go there, or go outside and sit with your trees, or go to a park. You'll see people meditating and doing yoga in the park. You will understand that you're part of something larger, something bigger. What made all of this? Not you, not the guy who runs Apple. The God force. One God, female, male, one God. The true Trinity is not a Father, a Son, and a ghost. It's the Mother, the Father, and the child. So therefore, and this is not new, the reason they said that we have to honor the mother as far as birth goes is because they could all see the child popping out of the uterus. They couldn't tell before DNA who the father was. And in royalty, they always had a pregnant woman standing by who would give birth at the same time. So if anything happened to the baby, was born stillborn or was born with mutations, they always had another baby. Think about that. We don't know the lineages of half the people in Europe claiming to be royalty. Surround the planet with light. And remember, if you just open up your hearts and minds to God's universal truth, you will always know that God and the angels are always with you. Namaste. I'm Linda Bennett. Thank you for being with us.